They murdered my family. They thought they murdered me. My actions are not vengeance. No, not vengeance. Punishment.
The Punisher. Now this is a comic book character that needs no introduction whatsoever. He is out to punish the corrupt who spill innocent blood without any mercy whatsoever. Whether you're a man or a woman, he's gonna make sure that the world is spared from your evil permanently by taking you out. It doesn't matter how much the bodies pile up, he's going to make sure that evil is permanently ceased as much as possible. You never know how he's gonna take you out, whether it's throwing you off a building, popping you like a pimple, or even dunking you in a piranha tank. He is the hero whose crosshairs you never want to be in, because he never misses. Ever! The concept of the Punisher originally came from Jerry Conway, who at the time was the writer for The Amazing Spider-Man. The concept of the Punisher was inspired after Conway read the popular book series, The Executioner, by the author Don Pendleton, which is about a Vietnam veteran, Mark Bolan, who becomes a serial killer of bad criminals after his family is killed by the Mafia. He says in an interview from 1987, "I was fascinated by the Don Pendleton Executioner character, which was fairly popular at the time. I wanted to do something that was inspired by that, although not to my mind a copy of it. And while I was doing the Jackal storyline, the opportunity came for a character who would be used by the Jackal to make Spider-Man's life miserable. The Punisher seemed to fit." Conway also helped design the character's costume. He says, "In the 70s when I was writing comics at DC and Marvel, I made it a practice to sketch my own ideas for the costumes of new characters, heroes, and villains, which I offered to the artists as a crude suggestion representing the image I had in mind. I had done that with the Punisher at Marvel." Conway had drawn the original concept of the Punisher with a small skull on one breast, and Marvel Comics art director John Romita took that design and blew the skull up to full size, which became the Punisher's logo. Which is great because criminals need to be in fear as soon as they see that skull, because they are about to get chastised badly. The Punisher originally showed up in The Amazing Spider-Man issue 129 in the year February 1974. Great issue too, I must say. He is deceived into attempting to kill Spider-Man. Spider-Man kicks the crap out of him enough where he calms down and hears Spider-Man out that he was deceived all along. And that person who just happened to deceive him was a green creature named the Jackal. The story of the Punisher is a character named Frank Castle, who is a family man and ex-Marine. The story goes that his wife and kids were out on a picnic at Central Park, where they witnessed a mob execution. When they were discovered, his family was murdered. They thought that they killed Frank, but he miraculously lived. From there on, he made a solemn promise to avenge his family. And not only does he get his revenge, but he makes a solemn promise to spend the rest of his days punishing and ending the corrupt who spilled the blood of the innocent. There were also some movies based on the Punisher which were actually very amazing. The first one starring Thomas Jane as the Punisher, John Travolta as Howard Saint, and Rebecca Romaine Stamos as Joan. You also get other great characters from the comics such as Spacker Dave, Bumpo, and the Crazy Evil Russian. And I gotta say, they did a pretty good job bringing to life that crazy fight from the comic. Sure, there were some slight changes, but it was pretty good. There are some things different in the movie, like instead of retiring as a Marine, he's retiring as a cop. Still same concept. And instead of just his wife and kids being murdered, it's his whole family while having a family reunion in Puerto Rico. And here he just has a son instead of a son and a daughter, but that's okay to me because sometimes in the comics that changed. They beat him, they kick him, beat him and kick him, causing him to fall down a pier and badly hurting himself, shooting the crap out of him, spilling gasoline all over the place, causing an explosion to occur, thinking that's mission accomplished, taking him out. But mission failed. Fully recovers and is devastated by the death of his family and decides he's gonna go out and make evil pay. And then there's the Punisher Warzone from 2008 starring Ray Stevenson, who looks quite a bit more like the comic in my opinion, and it also includes his arch nemesis, Jigsaw. He's dark, twisted, humorous, everything you want in a villain. And of course other characters from the comics such as Micro, who specialized in weapons that he always hooked the Punisher up with. They also stayed true to the original story of how Frank Castle's family was murdered by the Mafia while out on a family picnic. And I love the imagery that they used and how they brought that flashback to life where his family was murdered. It was very well done. It's such a shame that these flopped when they were in theaters because, to me, they were very well done and pretty true to the comic books. Sure, some slight changes, but to me, other than that, they were perfect. But now they have a cult following, which is great. We have also gotten some great things of the Punisher, such as video games, like the Punisher on the NES. Sure, it was developed by LJN, which was notorious in making terrible games based on movies and comics, but this was surprisingly a very good shooter, and I enjoy this game. There were lots of different Punisher games, but the one that everybody refers to the most is the Punisher on the PlayStation 2. And I tend to agree. That is, in fact, the best Punisher game that we've ever gotten, and my personal favorite. This Marvel comic character has made such great history over the years, and if you're looking to get into a great comic book series, the Punisher is a great way to start. I highly recommend it without any hesitation.
Those who do evil to others, the killers, the rapists, psychos, sadists, will come to know me well. Frank Castle is dead. Call me the Punisher.